So there it is, Supreme Court observing Aadhaar cannot be made mandatory for government welfare schemes. But what's interesting is an analysis done by CNBC TV 18, which actually finds that over 40 government schemes and services still require mandatory submission of Aadhaar details. Kevin Lee brings us those details. Kevin, take us through what your analysis has thrown up.
Well, the Supreme Court not mincing any words in its observation, but what cannot be denied is that there has been a push from the government to make Aadhaar mandatory. From January this year, Aadhaar has been made mandatory for over 40 government services. I'm not going to name all 40, but what you need to know is that this ranges across a wide range of services, right from something simple like Manrega to employees' pension, crop insurance for farmers, to something like maternity benefits, scholarships for OBC and SC students, to something even like Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, which is compensation paid to disabled children, and also victims of the Bhopal gas tragedy. For their compensation, Aadhaar has been made mandatory. For defense personnel seeking pensions, Aadhaar has been made mandatory. And these are just for government services. The government has also made Aadhaar mandatory for some non-government services. For example, last week the finance bill was passed, and in that, Aadhaar has been made mandatory for filing income tax returns. Just 2 days after that, the Department of Telecommunication sent out a letter that all existing prepaid and postpaid mobile subscribers need to verify their telephone numbers using Aadhaar, and any number that is not linked to an Aadhaar number by the 6th of February 2018 will be considered illegal. So undeniably, there has been a push from the government side to make Aadhaar mandatory. Let's just examine what the Supreme Court had to say. The Supreme Court, in 2 separate orders in August and October 2015, made it clear that Aadhaar must be voluntary even for government services. In fact, it made a list of services for which Aadhaar can be used for authentication, but emphasized that this needs to be voluntary. So from something like public distribution schemes to even EPFO, which is your employee provident fund, Aadhaar needs to be made only voluntary. It cannot be made mandatory, is what the Supreme Court has said. However, the Aadhaar Act that was passed in 2016 says that the government can make Aadhaar mandatory for government services. However, this act also has some language which says that in case somebody applies for an Aadhaar card and is not provided an Aadhaar card, then an alternate proof of identity can be used to make that authentication. So we'll have to wait and watch what the Supreme Court has to say on this matter. But clearly, until then, you can see there is some confusion between what the Supreme Court and government seem to be saying. Back to you.